Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the LMF1O show. And it is I, Andre Science, and I am joined by Tiggs. Hello, Tiggs.
Tiago Perez.
Tiago Perez.
I think
Yeah.
we're not picking the best people to.
Well, no, Perez is fine. I think Science is a little bad. A little bad.
Well, depends. Are we talking about race or are we talking about qualifying?
Both actually, kinda. To an extent. To an extent. To an extent.
Hey, maybe I like the beach. Who knows?
So yeah, this will be about the Australian Grand Prix of 2023, which was it was how can we put this? A little eventful, maybe?
Yeah, it was. And for those of you who are listening to our second podcast now, we never knew it would last this long. So welcome and hope that you enjoy it. But yeah, like you were saying, this was an interesting race. Eventful is one way to put it.
Yeah, eventful is one bloody way to put it. That was it was how can I say, all of it happened in the race. Well, a lot of cuck happened in quali, especially with let's actually get into quali while we at it.
Okay.
So let's see. Q1, Checo Perez. What happened there?
I think that Perez doesn't even know what happened there.
Yeah, so from the looks of it, he seemed to either carry too much speed or his gearbox kind of clunked out on him. But whatever he did, it made him get into the gravel trap, the kitty litter, and he just got stuck there.
Yeah, and he couldn't get out. I mean, we saw some other people be just as unlucky throughout the race weekend into the gravel traps and such. Something to also keep in mind is I think that many teams are struggling to get the car into a good, or the tires rather, into a good operating window. Many of them, and we are at quali now, but many people were taking interesting strategies to prepare their tires. Some of the creators that I've been listening to and that I do listen to were saying that how they prepared their tires was very interesting, and that might be one of the reasons why we haven't gotten there yet, but why the Mercedes were maybe as good as they were this weekend. It could be a track specific thing, but let's see. The upgrades in Baku are also coming for them.
Yeah, big time. So in general, we're gonna go back to Perez for a little bit.
Sure, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, so FP3, he already displayed signs of not really liking what the car was doing and how the car was feeling. And even to an extent, like Max in the race, I know we're kind of jumping a little bit forward, but even with the lockups, the Red Bull shouldn't be locking up like that the way it is.
I'm convinced Max was falling asleep because he was so far ahead.
Oh, is it?
I think that's
true.
what happened.
But yeah, no, it's a very un-Red Bull-like characteristic.
Sure.
Because they were struggling a lot with that last year, or initially of last year, because of the balance of the weight and all that nonsense. But it seems like, I don't know, it's kind of weird considering that they say that they fixed all of that and then the setup was more wrong for Checo than it was for Max. But yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. Checo in the kitty litter.
Especially in qualifying, there's unfortunately not a lot to speak
Yeah.
about. Checo, he didn't even set a time. Thank goodness they didn't apply the 107% rule. Hey,
Yeah.
that would have been interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, besides that, nothing really much happened
Yeah.
until the Q3, where a lot of the grid was shaken up, including Albon's P8. That Williams looked really
Very
good
impressive.
in his hands for most of the weekend. And then we also saw another unexpected. It was a big day for Mercedes-powered cars, with the Mercedes going with a 2 and 3, and then Aston Martin with a 4 and 6. 4 and 6, yeah, 4 and 6. Bad day for the quali was a very, very bad day for Ferrari. It keeps getting worse. It just keeps getting worse, and it got even worse in the race. But we'll talk about like how Mercedes in the qualifying session, how they were just able to come out of nowhere. Like they'd been nowhere for these past two. I wouldn't say nowhere, but they weren't where they wanted to be these past two races. And then they're right at the top again.
Yeah.
So
I think that it was very interesting to see that it's one of those things when you've got it, you've got it, in the sense of Mercedes still has some very talented people all over their garage, people who are good at strategy, people who are good at preparing the tires and doing what's best for the tires, people who really know what they're doing all around in terms of racing. So when you get certain conditions that might just be better for some, or rather are not conducive to the car showing its best performance, it's people like these, who really make a car pop, right? And I think that Mercedes was able to do that really well this weekend. Their strategy team showed a masterclass in how to drive a race. I'm sure that Russell would disagree a little bit, even though I still think that in the race, the decision to put Russell first was a good one. But
now we're jumping ahead to the race.
Yeah, let me rather just hold my horses.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the race. Thank you, Tiggs, for absolutely destroying the schedule of this podcast.
It was a planned segue. It was a planned segue.
Okay, yeah. Now we're gonna jump to the start of the race. We're actually moving much quicker than last time, so I'm quite happy about that.
But the thing is, qualifying didn't have too much.
It didn't have unexpected. It was unexpected, but it wasn't. No, it was unexpected. It was more unexpected than Saudi, to be fair.
Okay, fair. But we were bouncing.
It was quite straightforward. Anyways, the start of the race. Now what happened? George got off to a really, really good start, and Lewis also followed. So it was, by the end of the lap, a 1-2 for Mercedes, with Max Verstappen closely on their heels. It was quite interesting because it seemed like the Mercs were good when they were out in front and they were using each other. So Lewis, I think, could like really stay ahead of Max just simply because he was in the tow of Russell. Even when I think DRS did come out. Yeah, DRS came out and they were sticking with each other like flies on a rotting carcass. You know, like they were really close. I don't know. I wouldn't really say it's teamwork, but it was really good strategy from both of them to stay ahead of Max. And then obviously Albon lost it after having such a banging start, getting up to 6th. Obviously a lot of stuff happened. Like we cannot forget Charles being taken out.
That was in the first lap, was that not?
That was in the first lap. That was the first sector.
Was it Charles getting taken out? I do not think so.
No,
I think that it is a racing incident. But if I were to put the blame on someone per se, I'd put that more on Charles than on Lance. For those who didn't watch the race, it would be a good idea to watch the race before listening to us speak. But basically what happened was that, from my point of view at least, Charles was starting to encroach a bit on Lance. And their wheels touched, and there wasn't really anything Lance could do. There was nowhere he could go. So, Leclerc, as much as it sucks, Leclerc brought that on himself.
I do agree. Oh, no. I think that's a little too harsh, actually. Because there was not really, like... There's no chance that Charles would have known that, like, Lance really had no space to work with. You can't really judge the distance between him and Fernando, and, like... I don't know, it's just more of an unfortunate situation that tends to happen.
It was, but sometimes when people are going into a race first lap, you sometimes forget that they're
but if you look at like the side mirrors and such, you don't have that much visibility, and you look on your side and you think that, okay, you know, like I don't think Lance is that close to me. It's a normal mistake to do.
It happens, it does happen, but at the end of the day, if we're going to pin the blame on someone for ruining that race, I'd say it's more Charles than it is Lance.
I can't really blame anyone, so I'm not putting any.
Being a neutral, eh?
No, because it
was a racing incident.
It really was no one's fault. If we're going to be 101% honest, no one is to blame.
I'm willing to chill on handing out blame for now, because later we might be dishing that out a little bit more. So, fair enough. But at the same time, this is something that Ferrari didn't need. It's something that Charles didn't need. Ferrari have had one of their worst starts to a season in a very, very long time.
Charles has less points now in these 2 to 3 opening races than 2020. And in 2020, he was driving a literal red tractor.
He was
that is actually so embarrassing, dude. if anyone from Ferrari, if you guys are listening, guys, I'd be embarrassed. I wouldn't take that if I was you guys,
But
honestly.
what would the issue be? I know this isn't exactly about this race. This is maybe looking into Ferrari a bit as a whole. I wouldn't say they have a bad car. I really wouldn't. Are they
I would.
finding their feet now as they have transitioned into new management? What would be doing this? Because I mean, they're both good drivers. I still rate Charles
Yeah,
and Carlos
yeah,
really highly.
obviously.
I mean, Carlos had a bang of a weekend. If it weren't for that last,
Which we will talk about
We'll
later.
get to later.
Because there's a handful that we need to talk
but
about.
but what I'm saying now is that if you look at Carlos for the majority of the weekend, he had a really good weekend.
Yeah. He was
Right.
better than Charles.
For
which
sure.
is quite
So
insane.
Carlos was having a decent weekend. Charles not as much. Even in quali,
Yeah, like Lance out qualified him as well.
so now, then again, that car is fast. The Aston is fast.
No, the Aston
But-
is fast, and it was actually a pretty decent time as well. But,
Yeah. So I don't know. Ferrari is not looking good this season, and this is a
but that's what I'm
continuation.
saying, dude. Like Mercedes is in front of them. How is this occurring? How did you screw up something so good from last year? Like
From
it
last
feels,
year, I get you.
It feels like I'm provoking people at the moment, but like I'm
Don't
I'm
stoke the
genuinely like
flames.
flabbergasted at this moment right now. Like how do you cock up something that's going so well for you? I really want to know what's going on. I really want to know what's going on.
Yeah, maybe they're just being unlucky. I mean, that also happens.
Yeah.
It's something that happens sometimes, and it is what it is, right?
I guess so, but it shouldn't be.
No,
Because
but
even it happened to Merc, and they dealing with it way differently than Ferrari. I don't know, man. Like any close chance they get to being in a world championship, they like find a way to bottle, like to botch it.
sure, but
So I don't know.
I wouldn't count them out just yet. I know that the points aren't looking great,
Yeah,
but I
far
also
from it.
think, but I also think that they can bounce back.
No,
We're still 3 races into, is it a 22 or 23 race season?
I think it's 23.
Yeah, so there's still time. That Red Bull does need to be reined in. I want someone to do that, even though I am a Red Bull fan.
Wow.
Plastic fan.
Wow.
But yeah, no, completely unbiased. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, completely unbiased.
I'm very unbiased. So
Come on, FIA, the penalty wasn't too severe enough. Eh?
of course,
You
of
made
course.
the what is the new nickname for the FIA because they're
They
on
got
Red
so
Bull
many.
side?
Because they're on Red Bull side. What's the
If-
Red Bull one?
FI Bull or something stupid
Oh, my
like that.
word.
Wait,
No, my favorite ones is the Mafia one and
oh,
the
yeah,
what's
true. That
it?
one actually rolled off the
FIA,
tongue. Guys,
Ferro-
we need another name like Verstappen. That one was a really good one, and no one
Oh, my
else has been
word.
able to have the same levels of creativity within the community. That's all I'm going to say.
I liked Crimelton. That was a
No,
good name.
Crimelton was good, but it wasn't Verstappen. Like
Oh, my
Verstappen
word.
just like rolls off the tongue, you know?
Yeah.
It's genius.
Let's keep this PG, please.
Yeah, dude. No, it's genius. You guys need to come up with these names. They're very clever and very funny. But yeah, let's go on to Albon because Albon's if you hear the onboard, it kind of sounds like his gearbox clunked or something. Either he took too much speed in or the gearbox just said goodbye. I'm not too sure. Whatever it was, it ruined a perfectly good running that he had in a track that they looked like they were really good at. Like I've never seen Williams that high. Well, besides George Russell's P2 in quotation marks.
Trundle in the rain. He had a good qualifying in
He had a
Spa
good
that year, but
qualifying,
that race was a bit of a
not a
farce.
race in my view. Anyways, I love Georgie, but anyways, yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic to see.
It's
That Williams
interesting.
was perfect.
I heard that in some of the interviews that they did with Albon after the race, he says he was taking less speed into that corner than he usually does. So I don't know.
Hectic.
We know that car isn't as hooked up as maybe
Yeah,
they would
obviously.
like it to be.
And it's not
Possible, yeah, and it's possible that maybe that's just something that happened there. Maybe the car didn't have enough downforce going around that corner. I don't know, but yeah, you got to feel for the man because he really put in a massive effort. Well up to Alex.
Yeah, GG's Albon, GG's.
He had a good race up until that point, and Yeah, hopefully this is a sign of things to come for Williams.
Williams is looking good this season. I won't even lie. Williams is looking way better than they've been in these past 2 years.
What
That's the
happened
way
to
I view it.
Sargent though? He wasn't really extracting
Oh,
as much.
Sergeant Logie Bear, what's happening, mate? Because like I keep rooting for you because we love America, of course. We love the CIA. But no, seriously,
Can you see?
but seriously, Logie Bear, what is happening, mate? What is happening? Like that was okay. We're gonna talk about his massive cock up later.
Hey, well, there's lots to talk about later about
Yeah.
that other incidents.
Yeah, there's multiple from different people.
Yes.
But yeah, no, man. What was happening all weekend? He was off the pace. Like compared to
don't think-
Albon, it was embarrassing.
Let's also not be too harsh with Logan. I think that he was exactly where that car deserves to be. I think that Albon was just really doing well. I think there's a little bit of a difference there. Let's also remember Logan is in his first year. He is a rookie.
Yeah, obviously, but you don't just run into people as I don't know. Like I don't think.
Whoa, that's for later.
I know, but let's get this out of the way. In F2, last time I checked, you don't run into someone where they're stopped.
How do you know?
I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm
Last
a
time
professional racing driver.
Nice.
No, okay, like some racing even there, but like still, no, I like mates, the car is stopped in front of you, you know? We're gonna talk about it later.
Yeah, let's talk about it later.
Let's okay. You know, we're gonna diverge from this because shortly after a safety car was called, but then straight after that, a red flag was called.
Let's just talk a little bit about what happened there in terms of some people pitting. Who pitted during the safety car? I know George was one.
I don't know who else.
There were some other people, but George was the most notable one because he gave up track position, as anyone would in his situation.
Yeah, honestly, if it wasn't for the red flag or whatever, I don't know. That was a really good call. Until they said, "Nah, Lamar, this is a red flag." That was a really good call, and if that was still a safety car, bro, that would be another example of George being the luckiest man on earth.
I wouldn't say he was lucky. Safety cars, okay, maybe, but remember that he put himself into a very good position at the beginning of the race, and if he had been a little bit luckier, he would have executed a very good strategy. It's not like the safety car bunched up the field, making it easy for him to overtake or something like that. It was just there was a safety car.
Yeah.
He could get his tires changed with hopefully a lesser penalty, and then just continue on with his race and do well. I think that had there been no safety car, no red flags, any of that, he would have performed a similar strategy. It's just the safety car would have helped him a little bit. I think that George was in a very good position.
Oh, he was in a bloody good position.
Will it have mattered? Who knows? We saw how Hamilton.
I was about to say.
We saw how Verstappen overtook Hamilton.
No, that's not the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue was the engine deciding to say bye-bye.
Sure.
That's later on. Okay, but now we're gonna talk about the restart. The restart. This is the clean one. The bad one is coming up, but this is the clean one. The first restart was pretty clean. Lewis got out ahead and led from the restart. Shortly following with Max and then Alonso. I don't really know who fell. I think Lance fell a little bit. It wasn't a good weekend for Lance, I will say. As a Lancelot, that was not a good weekend.
So good but we'll get there. Never mind. We'll get there.
On paper, it looked good, but
I think we should name this podcast the "We'll Get There" podcast.
We'll get there moments. Foreshadowing.
Epic foreshadowing.
But yeah, no, not much happened after that until Lewis got absolutely GP2'd.
But before we do that, before we get there, what do you think about and many people have spoken about the amount of red flags and safety cars and all of that we had this weekend in terms of like the intervening of the FIA. What do you think about how the FIA intervened? Well, not the FIA, sorry, I'm calling out the wrong people, the stewards.
Yeah.
The race director. Sorry, FIA. I know this wasn't on you guys, but yeah. So the race director.
The stewards are part of the FIA, so.
Sure, but the race director is the guy who calls the shots here anyway. So what do you think of the race director calling this, especially this? Every time we speak of one of the red flags and stuff, let's speak on its own merits by
Okay.
itself. So the first one, what do you think? Do you think that warranted a red flag?
I've never driven a car, so I wouldn't know.
I mean, some of the drivers rate not.
Yeah, George was a big one of not, but that's also because he got like absolutely
Of
murked.
course, but I mean, also Verstappen was saying that he thinks that first one wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily a safety car, and a red flag, and we've seen in the past a car doing something similar.
And then nooks happening.
Yeah, and then them just bunching up behind the safety car and them able to clean the line.
It really does depend because I don't know how much debris was on the track because there was a lot of sand and shit on the track.
There was.
Um,
Just the sand though.
I don't know. It depends. If it was really that bad, like then it's understandable.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure how bad it was, so
That's true. It
I
would
wasn't
be
there.
it would be interesting to note because the thing is, if they had all bunched behind the safety car, would have given ample time for the marshals to sweep the track. Would have given them more than enough time to remove the car. I don't think they needed a crane to remove the car. I stand to be corrected.
Did they need a crane?
I don't think so, is what I'm saying. If
Did they use a crane? I don't remember that.
think that. That's why I'm saying I don't think they needed it. If they needed a crane, I'd understand.
So they didn't use a crane, is what you're saying?
Exactly.
They didn't.
They didn't need to use a crane.
So they used the crane.
They pushed.
Did they use a crane or did they not use a crane?
I'm sorry, guys, it's late. No, I don't believe they used a crane.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, cool.
The reason I'm bringing that up is because we've had incidents before where people complain that, cars out on track while
Suzuka,
exactly.
Stuff, yeah.
So I'd understand if they're being a little bit cautious, although the weather was looking brilliant, so they could have just slowed everyone down. It's one of those things where it's like it's not Suzuka is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't see a reason to throw the red flag, but at the same time, I'm a bit neutral in a way about it because I don't feel like it was the worst thing for them to do.
Yeah,
given
me
the
neither.
circumstances.
I think it was decent.
The reason I just brought it up is because I know that many people have been bringing it up. So I just wanted to gauge your sentiment on this. And I think that the FIA is okay, but they must also be careful because here's the same story a lot of people talk about. I mean, we must also be careful not to prioritize the spectacle over the sport.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think that it's important. Nothing wrong with the spectacle, if you get what I'm saying. But it mustn't come at the cost of the sport. But that's a conversation that we could be here all night speaking about.
Yeah. So yeah, well, now that we've cleared that up, let's go back to the restart and also just how everyone else on the grid is doing. So then Max eventually catches up to Lewis and absolutely GP2 engines the shit out of Lewis.
Yeah, poor Lewis really stood no chance.
Yeah,
he stood no chance.
That
Red Bull is blitz. Like,
yeah, there was nothing you could
on the DRS, without the DRS, there's like well up to all those Red Bull mechanics, and I'm not just saying this because maybe I want to get a job there or something, but well up to the Red Bull mechanics and designers and everyone in that team. You guys have built a blimmin' rocket ship.
Yes, so
Yes.
FIA assistance, I think so.
Hey, they were handicapped by the FIA and they still built
in
a rocket
quotation
ship.
Marks, they were like, it's fine, you can make the next car as good as
Go
you
and
want.
cry Milton somewhere else.
You can do whatever you want if Red Bull. You can treat me to a nice dinner and you guys can do whatever you want.
No, the Red Bull can't give you a dinner, otherwise they'll go over the cost cap.
No, that's why they went over the cost cap. They're trying to sweet talk their way out of it.
I see.
So yeah, George also was moving up a little bit considering where he got absolutely destroyed. So
about to use a South Africanism there, weren't you? And
no, I don't think so.
Okay, never mind.
I think I just blanked and then I was like, oh, that's a good word. Anyways, yeah, so then Georgie boy, he went from 7th to 6th, I think, or 8th. 8th, whatever. By the end of a certain lap, he was 6th and closing in on 5th.
He was doing well climbing.
And then his engine said bye-bye.
Yeah, his engine wasn't too keen on the recovery drive.
Yeah, it kind of combusted on itself. It was really
as engine mode 11 says, they were perfected the external combustion engine. Yeah,
They were trying to make a bonfire.
they were on the track there.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Australia.
Yeah, it's Australia. But that I think is the first mechanical issue that George has had in a Mercedes. Not a Williams, but a Mercedes. So yeah, this is yeah.
Okay.
The other time he crashed out by himself. He turned into Joe.
No,
Oh
fair,
no,
fair.
he turned into Gaz. And then
Fair.
So yeah.
I'm just not keeping track of these as well.
Yeah, so I think that was a virtual safety car, or at least the yellow. Something happened. They cleared it up very quickly.
He was also clever in where he placed his car.
Yeah.
It would have been. It wouldn't have Would it have favored Mercedes if he had like caused another safety car, red flag, yada yada yada? I don't think so. I think they cleared it up with a VSC and it was good to go.
It might have helped Mercedes with like a free pit or something stupid like
no,
that.
but he did stop it in a very in a responsible position.
Yeah, there's not much he could have done. So well ups on Georgie boy. He was doing well and then he wasn't doing well. Okay. I'm looking at my list. Give me a second.
You can look at your list without umming, like the audience are not going to like
no,
that.
dude, wait. No, this is ASMR. Anyways, okay. So there was a big fight in the midfield, especially like at the top of the midfield. So I guess like 6th position between Gasly. I don't know if he was 6th, but like 5th or something like that. He was fighting with Carlos, which was a pretty cool battle to watch. Well, not like fighting, but he was really keeping up with Carlos. Gasly was showing his utter pace that whole weekend.
The Alpines, I feel, were actually doing fairly well even in the race.
Even Ocon, who was fighting with like the midfielders, he was doing as well as he could at Albert Park. A lot of people also forget that Albert Park is a difficult place to overtake in.
You wouldn't tell.
What?
From those flippin' Red Bulls.
Oh yeah, exactly.
The 4 DRS zones is also like a little bit different.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of how DRS has kind of been implemented, where the person...
At Albert Park, you mean?
No, in general, where it's like at Albert Park, I guess, because there's 2 DRS zones, one after another.
With 1 detection point.
Exactly. That is so stupid, unbelievably daft. It is like, you will get ahead, and then you'll just increase your lead. It's like, I don't know, for me, that just does not encourage racing at all. But it is what it is.
I think it
It
depends.
pisses me off.
I think it depends. The strength of the DRS also depends on each car. Not every car has the same strength DRS. I think that sort of method might work okay for most cars that are on the field right now. The Red Bull, definitely not, because that Red Bull is just so powerful in the DRS.
Yeah.
They'll get through after the first DRS zone, and second one, like you say, will just be them running away. That might not be the case with other cars. Maybe first one is just for them to catch. But it will
still help you regardless, especially in men's, bro. You
I feel
literally have less of a wing.
Yeah.
You literally have less downforce than the oak behind you. How does that make sense? It kind of cancels out that slipstream effect as well, so you're just going to be waving bye-bye to your competitor. I don't know. It's just stupid. Stop being lazy. Put 2 detection zones, one after another.
I'm sure the FIA will do exactly that.
Yeah,
definitely. They listen to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And they're definitely not lazy or inconsistent or bribed or...
And Stefano, who's a long-time listener of our show.
Oh, yeah.
Of our
Hello,
2-episode show.
Dominicali, can you please stop entertaining the idea of no free practice?
And can you come to Africa, please?
Yeah, but like more importantly, the free practice nonsense, that's like the stupidest cuck you've ever said.
Implement the free practice thing, but come to Africa.
No, shut up. Listen.
Well, then we couldn't go to the race also, because it's expensive
just
stuff.
Getting rid of free practices. Can we just talk about how stupid that is? Like, I don't think anyone who's like mentally sane has said that this is a good idea. It's only been people who don't follow the sport as like daily or whatever, or every single time there's a race, they'll watch every like 2 races. Like, come on, man. Are those the type of people we want to be like catering to?
Hey,
not the people. No, wait.
Their opinion matters, but
no, it doesn't. It doesn't matter as much as the person who's watching it religiously, because the more decisions you make to alienate your diehard fans is more likely to make them go away from the sport and watch another motorsport. Which, listen, don't just watch one motorsport. Watch a bunch of them, because a lot of them are great. Like IndyCar, DTM. Just watch a lot of stuff. You know, Formula E, it's great. It's fun to watch cars go around in circles. But like, you
Yay.
need to give reason for people who invest a lot of time and effort into your sport, and you can't just keep taking it away for someone who might watch it here and there. I don't know. It's just a weird demographic to cater to. The one that won't really religiously watch the sport. That's my opinion. I think we should cater to new fans, but we should also not take away fundamentals that are influential in how the sport runs, especially when getting data and stuff and then making setups and stuff like that. I don't know. It just every other motorsport has free practices. Why should F1 be different?
I feel like you're pushing, not pushing it, but I feel like you're missing a point that I feel is one of the most really nice points of free practices. Many people maybe won't be able to afford to come to the race.
Literally, that's an important
for
one.
me. That's
Yeah.
the biggest one.
I did miss that one.
If
you're
you're
so
a
right.
if you're a motorsport fan, not like let's think of those people who are diehard fans, but they really can't afford to come to a race on a Sunday. They might be able to go on a Friday, or
Literally.
a Saturday would be a bit more expensive, but they maybe would be able to
Way
go to
cheaper
one of
than
those.
the race.
That's what I'm saying. One of
Way
those
cheaper than the
sessions,
race.
and that would be brilliant for them. I mean, you're taking away seeing cars running. I don't think that
I
is.
also don't. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, elitism, gatekeeping, because there are like a lot of things. For example, sprint races. A lot of the diehard F1 fans hate them, but I actually like them depending on the circuit. But like, this is a moment where it's like, why are we catering to like casual viewers that will not always be watching F1? I don't know. This doesn't really help the racing. It doesn't really improve the racing. I don't know.
I feel like the argument doesn't really make sense as much also, and I'll explain to you why I say that. You can always just switch off your TV on a Friday, no?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what else are you going to fill up in that space?
You can always just switch off your TV when you don't want to watch it. That's fine. But
like, what, are we going to make qualies longer now? Or like, I don't know. I like the quali format now. I like the free practice formats now. Yeah. And I like the sprint format that they're introducing now. The changes where it's like the qualifying for sprint is on what? No. The qualifying for the race is on the Friday. And then the qualifying for the sprint is on the Saturday. I like that. That's a great idea. Now, sprint races don't influence the qualifying order of the race. Mm-hmm. This is like taking cues off of MotoGP's newly established sprint format. So, you know what? Like, I'm being honest. I was never in favor of the sprint format. And then they were like, okay, we're going to introduce the sprint format so we can get more racing. And this was obviously to appeal to like the broader fans and stuff, not just like the diehard Formula One fans, the new fans and stuff, so we can get more racing. And I'll be honest, I was never like on board with that idea, because it's like, okay, so now you're going to be introducing more crashes, and I was being a grumpy ass. But like now I'm like, okay, you know, we have 2021 Interlagos. That's one of my favorite like sprint races. That was crazy to see Lewis. Like,
I was about to say, just because your boy, nobody was doing well.
He was ripping up the field, and that was great to watch. There's been other, even Carlos in Interlagos, he was going mad. He was going mad on that first lap. That was fun to watch. There were other sprint races that I also really enjoyed. Britain, the Silverstone races 2021 and
But you enjoyed sprints, basically, is what you're saying.
In general, sprint races were a pleasant surprise, and they were catering to the broader audience. Free practice literally makes no sense at all to remove. Sorry, I was getting to there. It literally makes no sense at all.
I think, can I play devil's advocate a little bit? Because we've been both, I'm sure the listeners can tell that we're against removing practices in general.
I don't know, what
I don't know what gave it away.
What makes you think that we're against it? I don't know, I think I've been quite for it, actually.
But let me play devil's advocate. F1 are now on this whole mission, and understandably so, and it's right, of becoming carbon neutral by, 2030, I think it is?
Yeah, give or take.
So what's one of the best ways of becoming carbon neutral, besides the obvious don't talk about logistics?
Oh,
thank goodness you guys don't have cameras.
Saw it by my face.
You would have seen from Andre's face here that he was going to get to logistics, but I'll speak about that later.
That's where most of the carbon emissions come from.
Okay, but I'm throwing the spanners in the works right now, okay? The spanner in the works, or the other point of view, would be, well, if we remove a few sessions from a Friday, well then we are saving carb. We aren't using fuels. We're being more sustainable. And I think that no one can argue necessarily with that. Like, if you have less running, it's obviously going to be more sustainable. But I feel
surface level bullshit. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think it's
Greenwashing at its finest.
that might be the case, and like I was alluding to earlier, there are other ways of substantially cutting out more fuel, more
Logistics.
Exactly. Why are we in America, then the Middle East, then Asia, then back to America, then Australia,
America, Europe, and then South America? What is happening?
Why are we bouncing around as much as we are? Okay, cool, whatever. But I just also don't want to seem like we're only only pulling one argument. I also wanted to see that there are maybe reasons that would work out. But the thing is,
I feel like the arguments are, if you look at it without putting much thought into it, you're like, oh, yeah, no, it's a great idea. But then when you actually start thinking about it and you start arguing that point, it makes less and less sense. That's just how.
But then again,
listen, guys, whatever you guys don't like free practice. Great, I'm happy for you. But this is my argument, and I think it's utter bullshit that we want to remove, or that people want to remove it. It makes no sense, and I'm gonna stop ranting. I'll let Tiggs talk right now.
No, I was just saying it's if you don't like it, you can always. And I'm not trying to.
Come on,
switch off your TV
toxicity.
if you want. But there are many of us who I feel who are kind of like me in a way, and Andre can attest to this. Sometimes I'll be watching free practice when I'm supposed to do other stuff on a Friday afternoon.
Oopsies.
So yeah, like sometimes instead of studying or while studying, I'll have another screen open with the things going on.
Literally.
I'll listen to Crofty, I'll listen to Jensen, I'll listen to Natalie, I'll listen to all of these people who are usually in commentary talking utter nonsense at times. But it's entertaining. It's nice to see cars go around the track. It's nice to speak about things that you wouldn't necessarily hear about during the race and quali, because it is a more chilled session, let's be honest. But that's cool. We don't need to get rid of that.
Exactly, man. There's more pressing matters at the moment.
I think so too. But yeah, I think that we've maybe spoken too much about this topic already.
Let's
move on to the next.
Okay, yeah. So we've been talking. Lando Norris's climb was also quite crazy to watch.
The McLarens in general. If we can just take a detour.
They look draggy as shit. Like they look like they had way too much downforce and they could not just do anything on the straight. The straights were utterly hopeless, but around the corners, I think they could keep up. And also just, obviously, a little bit of luck, but not really. Lando kind of came alive, and we see this time and time again where the first few races of the season, he struggles, lack of adaptability. But then out of nowhere, he decides that he understands how the car works, and then he kind of gets his groove on.
I think he did. I think the McLarens in general did okay today, given their car. I don't believe they've brought on any big upgrades. That's probably next race. We gotta wait a whole month for next race.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it's the end of April. Woo!
But anyway, I think that the McLarens looked decent. Okay, it does help that nearly half the field DNF'd, but they were still there at the end. And I know I'm gonna sound like an old man when I say this, but the truth is, to finish first,
you must finish.
There we go. So they worked on that part really well. They were able to finish the race. So yeah, well up. And Oscar, well done, getting points.
Let's go.
Getting points at his home race. That's really cool. Well up to him.
Blimey. Yeah, no, great stuff to Oscar. Got a little bit lucky with obviously the Alpines DNFing, but still, I like Oscar. Oscar really
still did well. He still did well.
And yeah, and that brings us to the talk of the town. The second red flag. And how was this caused? It was caused by Magnussen hitting the wall too hard and then absolutely destroying his tire.
Yeeted his tire into the air.
But then the tire went over the barrier and then cut someone. But
was that the tire? That was a piece of carbon, or was that the tire?
That was the rim.
Was that the rim?
The rim came off and went...
I saw the pictures. I don't know if the viewers have seen these pictures, or the listeners, but there's some Australian bloke with like a cut on his arm, like full on, like, yeah, I got this piece of carbon.
It's quite crazy, yeah.
And meanwhile, it's got blood dripping all over his... Bro, it was awesome. Like, it's so cool.
But, yeah, then So I'm assuming they didn't want to repeat Monza 2022, and then they were like, Lamar, red flag. And I was like, huh?
People might disagree with me here, some people, but I think that was a good call because we've spoken about this since 2021, the whole finishing under greens. 2021, it might have been taken a little overboard, but the idea, I think, is not necessarily a bad one, and there's ways of implementing ending under green flags. Instead of rushing safety car procedures,
I do agree with that.
rather just neutralize the race, bring everyone in. I do feel for Max, though, because Max had built such a nice buffer.
But we knew he was just going to get ahead. Let's be fair.
I know, but he could have
He is
not,
inevitable.
you know?
He is
No,
inevitable.
fair enough, but at the same time, like, you know how much can go wrong in a safety car start,
Yeah,
right?
that is true.
Or rather in a standing start,
Yeah.
which is what happens after red flags. And he could have just ended up in the kitty litter like Charles.
Yeah.
He could have. And I think that would have really sucked, given that he had built a 10-second gap to the next guy. But at the end of the day, that is racing, hey? But I mean, I'd still feel for the man, you
The
know?
thing is that I think about it more and more. I've been on the same opinion piece as you for a while. But then I also see a lot of the IndyCar oaks. Okay, so if no one knows, an IndyCar race at Texas Motor Speedway, it occurred and it was a really good race. And a very similar thing had happened. Grosjean had put it into the wall basically with like 5 laps to go or 4 laps to go.
Just Grosjean things.
Yeah,
Sorry,
just
Grosjean.
shame. We love you. We love you.
We
But
love
like,
you, Grosjean.
it's kind of funny. Yeah, to be fair, it's his first incident on an oval, so well ups to him.
Yeah, I'm just being
Yeah,
a
so
hater.
a very similar debate had been brought up because it ended under yellows, basically. So the race had literally just ended as soon as Grosjean put it into the wall. And a lot of the IndyCar fans were like, okay, yeah, no, I'm actually quite happy with this. It sucks, but we want it to end like that. If there's an incident that like prevents us to go racing, you know, there's no red flag, no point of stopping the race and then restarting it. Let's just call it there. So I'm not too sure. And also a lot of the popular opinion pieces on the internet at the moment is that we should have ended under safety car. I think, personal opinion, we should have red flagged the session. I don't even know if we should have red flagged it. I don't think, because the thing is, we can't just throw red flags whenever we want green flag racing. Red flags should normally be used for like a stupidly horrific accident or something that's like
Something that compromises safety.
Yeah, nothing can go through basically. They kind of, you could see they didn't want to repeat Monza 2022. I don't think it's necessarily being the spectacle. I think it's appealing to fans because everyone was complaining when Monza ended under safety car, and then now everyone's complaining that it didn't under.
But that's
end
exactly
under
the
safety
problem.
car,
So for me,
or ended under the red flag.
so for me, that's exactly the problem. Whatever the FIA or whatever the race director did would have done in this situation.
No one would have liked them.
No one would have been happy
yeah.
because in
I
Monza we
100%
had
agree.
ending under the safety cars, like boring end, okay. Then the other when we threw a red flag, you shouldn't have thrown a
literally.
red flag. It's okay to end under yellows, and yes, it is okay to end under yellows. But the thing is, I feel like they must just come to a decision as to what do we want to do. The race or the race director or then the FIA getting together with the teams, or then just coming up with a decision themselves and saying, listen, this is how we're going to do things. If we end under yellows, we end under yellows. But they've had agreements before where they want to end under green flag racing. And if they're going to end under green flag racing, I think the way they did it is the best way to do it. If you want to have
I don't think they should have done a standing start though. This is my gamer
Hot take.
opinion. My gamer opinion.
Your hot take.
My game theory, my hot take. It should have restarted under safety car conditions or by rolling start. So it should have been max controls the pace of the whole grid, and then everyone just goes, because no one's going side by side. And then it really pretty much depends on your reflexes to see if the guy in front is going fast enough. So it kind of has that element where, yeah, it's exciting because, ooh, now everyone's on a clean slate. Everyone's bunched up again. Let's see what happens. But it's not too bunched up to the point where Gasly, Sainz, and Logan forget how to drive. Yeah, I'm singling out those oaks, but it's, yeah. But yeah, I think it should have been a rolling start procedure where the person in front controls the dictates the pace.
And let's just clear up that this is because since there were 2 laps left,
Literally two laps.
it was going to
It's
be
a
a
do
rat
or die,
race.
do or die. Exactly, rat
That will
race.
change their mindsets. So I do understand where you're coming from.
Mm,
I don't know what would be the best way to implement this, but without making the rules overly complicated.
yeah.
Um,
It would have sucked to end under safety, but I think it would have also been the right thing to end under safety. But yeah, I don't know. If we have to do red flags, then let's do it where it's a rolling start procedure. There is no point of having everyone moronically send it into T1. I'm already pissed off that Gasly and Logan did not get any penalties whatsoever because I'm of the opinion, and so is Tiggs, we've talked about this, Carlos Sainz 100% deserved the penalty. There is no question about that.
I think he deserves to have something.
The rules were enforced.
Yes.
Rulebook wise, the FIA was
The
in the
only
right.
thing that really sucks is that if this had happened at any other time during the race, Carlos would have had an opportunity to try and fix it, to try and close up the gap. The thing is, especially because it ended up ending under safety car, if you think about it, as much as we try to avoid it the whole time, he didn't have an opportunity to, not get yeeted to the back of the field. There was literally nothing he could do. It's like a post-race penalty was applied in terms of him not knowing. So it was a little harsh in a sense, and by harsh I mean like if it had happened at any other time in the race, it would have been a lot better and a lot easier.
This is my hot take. Be cautious into T1. Stop pretending that you have the craziest car out there that can stop at any interval, and also stop pretending that people don't exist when you're racing them.
Fair.
I'm sorry, like a lot of F1 drivers complain about shit and then they get away with a lot of stupid shit. This is what I don't like about F1 is that the FIA keeps bending over. We keep getting drivers scot-free. Oh, lap one incident. In most racing series, that whole lap one incident is the complete reverse. If you are stupid lap one, it is way more harsher to get a penalty than it is.
Okay, but let's also keep one thing in mind.
I'm sorry, mate. These are supposed to be the quote-unquote best drivers in the world.
Okay, sure, but
and
also
we're treating them like
let's
toddlers
keep
or something.
in mind that many other motorsports, if you're a little bit more argy-bargy, it's not the end of the world. It's not race ending. And also the visibility in a lot of these other motorsports are also they're also a little bit. I lost my train of thought there, but you can see better. You can see better in a lot of these other ones.
Yes, I know.
F1 is a difficult thing. It's a difficult
IndyCar, for
driving
example.
style.
IndyCar's also open wheeler, and they also have bad visibility, and obviously they have spotters and stuff. But that can't really necessarily be an excuse. You need to be cautious.
No, I agree.
Fernando is a good example of clean racing most of the time. Granted, there's been some times where it's like borderline. But we keep giving F1 drivers this, how can I say? We keep giving F1 drivers this like sort of benefit of the doubt. We keep giving them these rules where it's like, oh, you can cut someone off and pretend they're not alongside because, it's my corner, it's my line. No, bro, if someone is there, they're there. You can't just cut them off. That's a stupid rule, and a lot of racing drivers agree. Outside of F1, it's a stupid rule. You can't just pretend someone's not there. This is what I really, really dislike about F1, is just the rules of racing. And I don't know.
At the end of the day, though, so long as they agree to them,
but obviously they're going to agree to them because it's going to give them an advantage. Doesn't mean it's necessarily fair.
Okay, but the thing is, you got 20 drivers on the grid. Those 20 drivers, if all 20 agree to the rule, well, then who cares what everyone else does in other motorsports?
Yeah, but you're not going to be... There's more pressing matters to fight against. And obviously no one's going to be like, it's fine. No, but in general, in terms of fairness of racing, cutting off people like that, not a huge fan of it. And also just like this, I don't know, this like leniency towards F1 drivers. Yeah, no wonder why a lot of people try stupid things, because they can wiggle their way out of it 90% of the time. And I don't like that. Rules are rules, follow them. You can't just be like, oh, but it was lap 1 incidents. Okay, be more cautious then. I'm sorry. Like, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that one, but it's true.
Yeah,
be
I
more
disagree
cautious.
with you on that one.
Yeah, great, mates. But they're the best driver, quote unquote, the best drivers in the world. The pinnacle of motorsport, but yet they can't drive like normal human beings. They have to have special rules around them.
Oh, the thing is, at the beginning, it is a little bit of a mess. Like it always is.
It's a mess in other motorsports as well.
Yeah, but if you rub a little bit in any like GT3 racing and the like,
IndyCar.
okay, but Indy's
IndyCar.
Indy. Okay, fair enough.
You know, other forms of open wheelers. You know, there's a lot of cars where if you tap, it's and you can still rub and race in F1. It is possible, but it's the terms of the points in which you hit. If you hit it in the wrong way, obviously spins and stuff like that. There are times where we've seen where like they've contacted, but nothing really happens. They like wiggle a little bit and that's fine. I'm sorry, like. Especially if it's in a motorsport where it's like, you know, the cars are fragile. Why are you trying to act like it's a GT3 or something? Why are you trying to act like the car's stronger than it actually is? I don't know. The reason why people keep doing these stupid moves, especially lap 1, is because there's a lot of leniency around it. That's just my point. People are going to you have to have this sense of authority where it's like, don't do something stupid. If you do something stupid, you're going to get penalized. Simple as that. I don't know. That's just my hot take for the day.
Yeah, jeez, wow.
Nah, I don't know.
Super
it just
hot
irritates me. Just irritates me.
Oh, we noticed.
It's not fun to watch people be stupid. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of F1 fans might not like it. Maybe motorsport fans might be more inclined to, I don't know, agree with me.
I think
but I just want to see
we...
fair racing. I want to see fair racing. I want to see rules upheld. And that's literally all I want in life. That's all I want in life.
Nice.
So yeah. Carlos pretending Fernando wasn't there, or just running wide because he carried too much speed. Then Gasly locking up. Gasly is the biggest cock up though. I think
100%.
Gasly Gasly was just so embarrassing. The fact that he didn't get a penalty for this, I think, is just criminal. I do agree that it's unfair if Carlos gets a penalty and Logan and Gasly don't get it.
Yep, true.
So Gasly rejoins the track after missing his braking point.
Him and Carlos were actually like racing to turn 1.
Yeah,
they were fighting each other and they both carried too much speed.
Yeah, it was more Fernando and Carlos sort of. No, not Fernando.
No, it was Gasly. It was Gasly and Carlos. They were racing down to turn 1.
Yeah, my bad.
Then the two of them, you'll see the two of them were carrying way too much speed. Gasly understeered. He almost crashes into Alonso.
Yeah.
Before Carlos crashes into Alonso.
Yeah, that is actually ridiculous. Then he rejoins the track, and then he pretends like his teammate doesn't exist and puts him into a wall. Great stuff, Gasly. Way to cock up a weekend.
That was horrible. Like,
use your mirrors.
He was racing very well for the majority of the weekend. He was in a good position. He could have gotten good points for Alpine.
Yeah.
But he basically pretended like Ocon wasn't there. And
Yeah,
I think
100%.
that was not great racing, mate. Like, we always thought, when are the fireworks going to start at Alpine? Like, and a lot of people thought that Ocon was going to be the one.
Yeah.
It
wasn't.
No. I hope that things don't get too sour there. But at the same time, I agree with you. How is it possible that that George, jeez, I'm missing names, that Gasly did not get a penalty for that and get 2 penalty points and therefore get a race ban? What's the point of having the penalty point system?
Yeah, if you're not going to even do
That's my question right now. What's the point of the penalty point system if it's not going to be utilized?
I'm just getting more frustrated.
It's like, those people who threaten children saying, I'm gonna punish you if you do this. Then the kid does it, and then it's like, oh no, if you do it again,
if you do it again,
do it again. And the kid will do that like 5 times, and then no consequences.
That's exactly the point I've been having this whole time.
So the thing is, I think that's, and if we're just going to touch a little bit on this, we
take your time. What the hell was that?
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'll continue.
We also just have to see that regardless of what people feel on lap 1 incidents, what happened with Gasly was not a lap 1 incident. You could see that Gasly was encroaching completely. He had no one on that
Yeah,
side there.
mate.
He was just joining the track in a very unsafe manner after that bunched up restart, and
It was
crap happened.
so comedic. It was so
It was.
comedic. It was worse than Carlos's incident, like by a
Oh, by a long
landslide.
shot.
By a
By a long
landslide, dude.
shot.
It was so embarrassing to watch. I'm sorry. It's yeah, and then Logan Sargent driving into people when they stopped.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know that happened, until
I
like
also didn't until I saw
didn't
an
know.
onboard of it, and I was like, "What the
I
heck did
did
I
not
just
know that
watch?"
happened. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that
Logan
was
being a
Logan, what's
rookie,
happening? What's
he
happening? I think
needs to be
they
more
made
careful.
brakes in F2, so I think you know how to use the brake.
Same for Logan.
Yes, I love you, Logie. I hope you bounce back, but mate, that was not it.
Ah,
That was not it. That
I
was not it.
am still willing to give Logan a few passes just because he's new, but he must get over the. No, I'm not saying that he can't get penalized
No,
for them.
I'm not. I'm
Get
not saying
penalized for them
otherwise. I'm
and
also not
move
saying
on.
otherwise. But
And move
yeah,
on.
I don't know the rookie excuse as well.
Bro, it's his third or fourth race in Formula One.
Yeah, but at
So
the same time, you will know when like someone is slowing down and stuff. I don't know. I think
okay, sure.
he was
That's
predicting that De Vries was gonna go forward. It's kind of like what, ironically, De Vries did earlier in the race, where he just pretended like one of the cars he was racing was not there, and then he turns into him, and then car bounces, and then comes back down. Not the greatest of starts of the season for De Vries, especially when everyone was raving on about how his adaptability is crazy. He went from the Aston Martin to the Williams and to finish into the points at a track like Monza that suits the car. But besides that, you know, his adaptability, quote unquote, is not really coming into play at the moment. But moving back to Logan, yeah, it's not great. Logan, please bounce back. And also Carlos, please bounce back. And also Gasly, please bounce back.
I
But I like
really
Carlos and Logan, so
I
they
really
have a
want to
special place on
see
my heart.
Carlos do well this season,
I do as well.
especially against Charles, because Carlos, I'll be honest, I don't think he maybe has as much natural raw talent as Leclerc, but damn, he's still a good racing driver.
He is, yeah.
And I think that he can pull away from Charles in certain races when he has the opportunity, and he should maximize those. I really want to see him do well. I want to see the two of them do well in a Ferrari that seems capable. It's not a slow car, but we need that whole team to actually just work well together.
I agree. And yeah, so then that brought out the second to last red flag. There was another red flag, but we'll talk about it later.
Let's not care
So
too much about
then
that
there was
last one.
a large kerfuffle, I guess, if that's the right word. But yeah, basically everyone was like, okay, no, but we didn't clear sector one, mostly by Alonso and Aston Martin because they were the biggest to lose. But Alonso was quick to say, nope, that's lap one, the sector one. Remember what happened in Silverstone? We didn't count that. And yeah, so eventually it reset the grid for the second red flag. So that basically erased, like, for people like Aston Martin drivers like Stroll and Alonso, they just got caught a break because now they go back up to the original position. So Alonso third and Stroll fifth, I think, fifth or sixth. And yeah, then that's when Carlos got the news about his penalty, which
Heartbreaking.
produced the most depressing radio I've ever heard in my entire life. That was absolutely gut-wrenching.
It was heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking. But yeah, these things happen. And yeah, then the race ended like that on formation lap, because obviously formation lap counts as a lap. I didn't know that until after the race.
The formation lap doesn't count as a lap. What counts as a lap is the lap behind the safety car when the safety car is bringing the cars out.
Yeah,
that counts as a lap. But a normal formation lap at the beginning doesn't. One thing everyone has to also keep in mind is you've got to also remember that these teams have filled up their cars a certain amount, knowing that the race should last a certain amount of laps, and that's why we can't do like a Formula E adding laps at the end and whatever.
Yeah, obviously.
We don't do any refueling. We don't have regen in the same way that Formula E cars and that sort of thing have. So, unfortunately, we can't run like that in Formula One. But yeah, it was a little bit anticlimactic given everything to see how it ended. But hey, it is what it is. I guess there's no other way to do it. They could have called it. I feel
Mm,
like not even take the cars out after that because they were just gonna end in the same position they started. They could have just called the race and left it there because they've done more than whatever the percentage is
yeah.
for full points. So I feel like there wasn't a need to bring the cars out afterwards.
Yeah, that seems about right. And then we had the last red flag of the session, which is K Mags, not K Mags, sorry, Nico Hulkenberg. His car kaputted on one of the straights in Australia, and then a bunch of Aussies came out and tried to touch the car, even though the car was
That
in
was
a
a big,
state, yeah,
but that was a big
safety
save.
hazard.
Not even that. I think people being on the grass of the track while
Yeah,
cars are still actively circling the
yeah,
track.
that's crazy,
Come on,
man.
guys. I
You
don't know if you
Aussies are
heard.
weird, man.
I don't know if you heard the Australian GP, whatever the company is that organizes it. They got called to the stewards because of. I don't know if
I
it was
mean,
because of
yeah,
that, but
fair
they got
enough.
called to the
Who
stewards.
just let that go? Who let that whole crowd onto the track?
Who let the Aussies out?
Yeah, who let the Aussies? You guys are unhinged sometimes. I love you, Aussies.
Well, we South Africans, we're also a little bit unhinged at times too.
Yeah.
So
From
yeah.
my understanding, we haven't done that, so I think we're not as
Well, to be
unhinged.
fair, last Grand Prix we had here was what 2002,
Yeah,
2003.
the most unhinged thing we've done is apartheid under
Hey, that was very unhinged.
yeah, that was very unhinged.
That
That
was
was the
very
last time.
unhinged. Actually, there's one last thing we can talk about. I know
Yes.
that we have gone for a little bit too long, maybe ranted a bit too much about certain stuff.
Hmm.
But
It was my turn this week.
yeah, exactly. But something interesting to think about. Everyone's saying that Max had gone over the box. Max was over the
Oh
line at the
yeah, I forgot this
restart.
happened.
So, guys, before you accuse things, look at
We
multiple
looked at
angles.
it.
Look at
As soon as the race ended,
look at the
I
regs.
looked at the rule book and it said nothing about contact. It only said about being outside of the box.
So it said the rule book, the regulations say that the contact patch of the tire. So keep in mind that's the part of the tire that's actually touching the floor. So long as that is on the line or behind the line. In other words, if there's nothing ahead of the line in terms of the contact patch, then you're good. It's not about the overhang of the wing. It's not about that yellow line alongside of the car so the drivers know where they are. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with are the tires, are the contact patch, is the contact patch of the tires ahead of the line at all? If it isn't, then he's clean. And he was clean. And they also monitor these things through sensors and stuff. So, and you guys really think that all the other teams around there would have
Yeah, they
been
wouldn't have let
okay
that
with
slip.
it?
Yeah, they
They
wouldn't have
wouldn't
let that
have.
slip. Because
Especially
imagine,
Mercedes.
yeah, Max getting a 5 second penalty like Carlos, that would have been pretty mega for everyone on the grid,
Especially Mercedes. They would
especially
have gotten a
Mercedes.
win in a season
Yeah,
where their car's a little bit
a
all
hundred
over the place.
percent. Yeah,
So,
no,
it's just one of those
that's
things.
pretty crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything,
I think
unless we've
so.
forgotten one more thing. We've gone on for a while
But too
again.
long.
For too long, yeah. Lots of ranting. If you hated my opinions and you think that I should never watch F1 ever again, please let us know. We put this on YouTube. We put this on Spotify as well. Go check out our Spotify. Rate us. Do all of the cool things that the kids do nowadays with their epic wheel knowledge. And yeah, so I hope we weren't too unhinged or off the hook or uh, bad takes. And if we are bad takes, deal with it. Um, but yeah, this has been Andre and Tiggs.
Yeah, and our little talk on the race. It's going to be a little bit of a wait now until the next one, but
Yo, don't tell me about it.
it is what it is, I guess. And yeah, enjoy your guys' break.
Yes, guys. Till next time on the last week of April, from my understanding, and then it might be a double hit. I'm not too sure.
I'm not sure, but either way, we'll be here to talk to you about the race.
We'll be talking about a lot of things because a lot of the upgrades is going to start coming to Baku.
Ooh, true.
And I'm very keen. I want to see if Red Bull has got an upgrade because I know they were one of the teams that had an upgrade, a small upgrade at Melbourne, but an upgrade nonetheless. But now a lot of teams, especially the one of the main ones being Mercedes, they're gonna bring something out, and let's see what these upgrades bear
Yeah.
fruit to.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and
Cool,
we'll
guys.
catch you guys next time.
See you. Bye.